Hello everyone, welcome to Responsible Logistics podcast. Our today's guest is Andrius Zukauskas, Head of E-Mobility at Girteka. Welcome, Andrius.
Hello, Alia. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Andrius, as we discussed with Victoria in the previous episode, we spoke about current solutions available on the market, solutions that will help us decarbonize the industry by 2050. And one of them was battery electric vehicle. So maybe you could tell us what is the status of battery electric vehicles segment today, specifically heavy-duty vehicles?
I believe that market is changing. We see the investments coming in from different stakeholders, starting with the vehicle producers, where we get more and more different manufacturers offering their products to the market. Another thing is we see investments coming in from charging infrastructure providers who are investing into either converting their existing locations or investing into new locations, which would be suitable for battery electrical vehicles implementation. And the third part is related to applicable and available subsidies within different markets for acquiring and purchasing battery electric vehicles. And also the same goes with charging infrastructure and implementation, either for the public chargers or for the depot chargers. So taking into consideration these three elements, I think the current ecosystem is the correct one to kickstart the discussions towards the future, which in today's context, I would say, is electric or will be electric. But I don't believe that today's perspective is done on the big scale up of these kind of projects. I believe that the market is testing the waters in today's perspective, and pilot projects are happening based on the success of those pilot projects. We see that some of the companies make educated decisions towards investing into ramping up and scaling up their deliveries. But I don't expect that this will be the majority of projects. In general, I would say that we're in the beginning stage where a lot of companies already have some experience and knowledge about e-mobility and battery electrical vehicles. But the ramping up and the scaling up of these projects is currently happening or will be happening in the nearest future.
As I understand, it's still in a testing phase and it's quite a new technology. So maybe let's talk about advantages and disadvantages. From the experience that we have now with testing electric vehicles, could you tell us something about their effectiveness? Why is it actually good for reducing emissions?
I wouldn't say that it is in a testing phase. I would say that the testing phase is over. It's now in the pilot projects phase where companies who tested the vehicle and had positive experience with the vehicle are investing into the pilot projects and then thinking about how it should be scaled up. Talking about our own experience, I would say that this was a learning journey and experience for us internally, for different colleagues working within our company. I'm talking about colleagues from transport, planning, customer care divisions, of course, colleagues working in sales as well. In addition to this, the value co-creation with the customer, because if we look at these projects, you cannot compare it with diesel truck as an apple-to-apple comparison, at least in my eyes. I believe these projects create additional value. First of all, when we're talking about the environmental aspects, we see what is happening across the globe. Global warming, greenhouse gases, and additional emissions within the world, and how it affects the climate, nature, and all of us as people living in Earth. We can directly impact this and reduce the changes happening. Another important part is for us as a company increasing the conditions of our colleagues drivers who are working in the field on daily basis. We see positive feedback from the drivers coming in regarding the reduced noise of the vehicles, also the reduced vibration when you're operating the vehicle, handling the wheel and in general hearing or the feeling when operating the vehicle itself. Based on this, we hope that this will also create additional attraction to younger people to join transportation business and be working as drivers in general. And of course, the last and the most, I believe, interesting part, especially for our customers, is related to cost efficiency, which might sound a bit corny or cheesy in this case, but we already see that this is the case when we're talking about long-lasting partnership or long-lasting agreements and comparing the total cost of ownership of the diesel truck and the electric truck in general. Also taking into consideration the existing European regulations, which will come into fruition shortly, where there will be CO2 thresholds or new benchmarks, where based on it, additional taxes or CO2 regulation will come into fruition, and companies will need to take care of it or select the way where they will be paying additional fines or taxation, how we would like to call it in this regard. So taking into consideration all of these different aspects, we see that the initial investment costs for all of the parties involved might be higher compared to the diesel truck, due to already mentioned reasons that infrastructure is not existent as frequently as we would like to have it across Europe or in different segments of Europe, while the vehicle's initial cost is also higher in this regard. But from our experience and calculations, we see that in the long term, the total cost of ownership, as known as TCO, is lower for electric vehicles, plus taking into consideration reduced road tolls and the possibility to avoid additional taxation based on your CO2 emissions will compensate for the additional investments to electric vehicles and infrastructure needed for their implementation. Of course, the scale up will help this even more because the initial cost will be reduced. And the more those vehicles are on the roads, the more orders the producers have, the better ramping up of the production they will be able to do and achieve more attractive pricing, plus the competitive element between those companies. Therefore, I believe that the future is bright for electric vehicles, not only for electric vehicles, but for alternative fuel vehicles in general, due to the fact that we do not have any other choice than to go towards this direction.
And why do you say that we might not have another way? Because of the regulations that will take place? Or because there is no other planet that we can move for?
In general, I would say, for me personally, when I look retrospectively where the diesel engine or the whole diesel technology started and how far it has come in this regard, I don't see huge technological leaps which are still can be done or which are still available. If you look at this in general retrospectively, when Euro 1 was done and the CO2 emissions and the efficiency of the engine at that stage, and what we have currently at Euro 6 or the new expected Euro 7 regulations, the increased efficiency in this technology is not that great. And therefore, I believe that this is already squeezed to the maximum possible efficiency rate within this technology. Therefore, we need to start thinking about new technologies, moving towards them, doing the testing phases, pilot projects, and then pre-selecting the best technology which is out there for the specific use case for the customer. And I believe that this is the only way forward if we want to implement and execute the plan that Europe would become carbon neutral continent by 2050. Because otherwise, this is only theory and not practice.
But coming back to the topic of limitations, as I understand, and as we discussed with Victoria in the previous episode, it is not yet possible to drive electric truck long distances, right? It's only for domestic shipments, for short kind of shipments. So as I understand, the infrastructure is not yet there for larger scale of operations.
Yes and no. Based on different producers and their technologies which is available in the market right now, I would say that the vehicle is able to drive up to 450, 500 kilometers with one charge event, which is more than enough based on heavy-duty vehicles traveling distance per workday. The main challenge which occurs with electric vehicles is the lack of flexibility due to your mentioned reason of different areas of available charging infrastructure. So in general, when we take the diesel truck, I can do the deliveries one day in one geographical area of Europe. And then 1 week from now, I can be in a completely opposite side of Europe, and I have the flexibility there. When we're talking about electric vehicle in the distance, you are pretty much stuck within the same area where charging infrastructure is available. It doesn't matter if it is public charging infrastructure or Home Depot charging infrastructure or semi-charging infrastructure or whatever in this regard. It just creates you the situation where you are not as flexible as with the diesel truck in this regard. But the distance you can cover, you already can cover quite a significant amount of distance for electric vehicles to work. Not only as the domestic deliveries, as it is so known within the European market, but also as international deliveries as well. Nevertheless, for us as a company in this regard, we believe that the current implementation is possible mainly with the distances you mentioned in this regard, and using the vehicle as a dedicated vehicle for one customer or several customers in combination within their routes and within their networks in order to satisfy first of all, the customer demand, because at the end of the day, for us, customer satisfaction is one of the most important criteria as a company. When we're talking about long distance deliveries, we also see a possibility for them happening using an electric vehicle, mainly when electric vehicle is in combination with intermodal rail solution. In this case, the deliveries can be done where the first leg of the delivery is done using electric vehicle. Then the second leg of the delivery is done using intermodal rail solution with electric train in this case. And then the last leg of the delivery is done using electric vehicles as well. Of course, these are complex projects, but we as a company are confident in our ability and expertise of our colleagues that we're able to implement them and execute them in the highest efficiency.
As I understand, the process of planning in such case is quite complex. But let's say that I'm a company and I'm looking for a way to implement such solution in my operations. So what kind of requirements would I have to fit to be able to actually use electric trucks for transportation?
In general,
Imaginary company.
I wouldn't say that we discriminate as a company in general. The first requirement is the willingness to look to the future. For me personally, and for Girteka as a company, the willingness to evaluate opportunities. If you are forward-thinking, we always can find the opportunities. If we're talking about this Perfect scenario or ideal scenario, usually it doesn't exist. This is the reason why the complexity of these projects is quite high compared to the diesel projects, due to already mentioned reasons, lack of flexibility, different aspects which needs to be taken into consideration, and etc. But we can discuss about this ideal scenario, what should be done. So in general, we're talking about a customer who has the possibility to have round trips within their own network. It can be either domestic deliveries or deliveries between the different countries, but the distance of daily driving mileage should be in the range of 500 kilometers. If we're talking about further possibilities for efficiency, it would be ideal that this customer opening hours within their facilities would be 24/7, due to the fact that we as a company also see possibility to work with battery electrical vehicles with 2 driver shifts, which creates us additional benefits of reduced initial cost, which, as mentioned previously, is one of the key factors for the beginning of the cooperation or the pilot projects within customer networks. And I think the last part is regarding the charging infrastructure and availability. Either the customer is already invested into charging infrastructure within their depot areas, or public charging is available within the network, which creates additional flexibility for us as a company to provide fast operational implementation of battery electrical vehicle projects.
Maybe you could explain a little bit about subsidies. How does it work and where is it available?
Yeah, sure. In general, there are 2 aspects for subsidies, to put it in a simple way. The first part is related to purchasing new equipment, such as heavy-duty electric vehicles. The whole logic how it works is there are different percentages available within different European markets, but the idea is that governments are supporting companies who are investing towards sustainable transportation with additional percentage of their investment compared to the diesel truck. So in general, if you have diesel truck price X, and then you have electric vehicles price Y, you take the difference between those prices, and then you multiply this difference with the percentage available within different European country and the government which is there, and you get the potential possible subsidy if you comply with the requirements to receive the subsidy as a company operating in that country. Another part of the subsidies, as mentioned, is related to charging infrastructure, which works in quite a similar way, where based on the charging infrastructure costs, you are getting the percentage from your investment from the government within different European countries. Germany, some time ago, was the best example for this subsidy, and I believe a lot of countries adopted the subsidy logic which was used in Germany. Other markets are emerging as well, where they are encouraging companies to invest towards sustainable transportation.
It seems to me that the situation here is quite complex, and it includes initial investment. It needs to have, I need to have as a company certain lanes like round trips, and there are still issues with charging infrastructure. So as a company that doesn't have to really do it because it's not mandatory yet, why should I invest in this new technology?
Several aspects in this part. Also, looking retrospectively or from historical point of view, I really like this example related to the initial technology change to internal combustion engines.
Internal combustion engines is something that runs diesel, right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
So some time ago, people were used to travel with horses and using carriages, to accompany them in this regard. And internal combustion technology was created, and there were only pioneers who used the vehicles in this regard, and they were looked as with raised eyebrow in the people who are used to do things differently. And 15 years fast forward, in this case, everybody was driving internal combustion engines, and you would be able to see only several people who were operating horses still. So this is, let's say, the cheesy, the corny one, or let's say from a historical perspective. Another thing is a bit more looking to the recent ages is the passenger car market, or what is happening there. I believe.
You mean electric cars?
In general, first of all, talking about the passenger cars market. So in the passenger cars market, electric vehicles were introduced quite recently, comparing to the, let's say, whole market segments for gas and diesel vehicles within Europe. But we see that the commercial success with those vehicles are having the increased quantities which producers are able to supply them to the market, and also ramping up their production within different facilities, and actually reaching the new goal where during the last or previous several years there were more electric cars sold than the diesel cars in Europe in general, and this is a clear tendency which is happening.
Actually, I came across such fact yesterday. In Norway, I believe, in 2022 newly registered cars, 79% were electric.
Correct. So this just say strengthens the argument which is here. I believe that these are, let's say, the so-called soft arguments. If we're talking about the hard arguments, there will be no choice. In my perspective, in my eyes, new technologies will come in and reach this or reclaim this new additional market share from the diesel technology. These are also clear statements coming in from different vehicle producers that by different dates, which can vary, but 2030, 2040, where half of their production will be allocated to diesel and the second half will be allocated to alternative solutions, electric vehicles or other. So I believe that in the upcoming years we will see the new trends and new tendencies, what we saw in the passenger cars. And this will be happening mainly due to upcoming regulation, which we will not be able to hide from, and everybody will be mandatory to comply to them. So you can look from different philosophical perspectives into this matter and into this topic in general, but I believe one way or another we are living in a change era, which is exciting for me personally. I believe this is exciting business-wise as well, and therefore, as mentioned previously, or at the beginning of the podcast, I believe that innovating companies are already searching for ways to employ the vehicles within the pilot projects, gathering more data, seeing what works within their network, what needs to be changed and addressed, and based on it, trying to figuring out what the future holds for them. So if you will remain doing the same things for the upcoming years, most probably you will not be able to continue doing it due to the fact that the technology will not be there anymore.
In this case, I would like to ask you, when do you think the service will be accessible on a large scale? Because you mentioned that you see bright future for battery electric vehicles, but could you maybe you know when?
I believe opportunities are here today in the market. It's the main question is the willingness to see them and execute them. Also the willingness to invest towards the future. And I believe the most important part is the willingness for cooperation between different parties. because I don't believe that one party, as the carrier, the end user or the customer of the service, producer of the vehicle, charging infrastructure producer, or other parties can initiate and implement this change. The main idea is to have these discussions, and I believe having this podcast will help this as well, to spread the message that possibilities and opportunities are already there. Companies are willing to discuss about the implementation and execution on different plans towards the sustainable future, where I believe that European Union and Europe as a continent is heading to. To add up on the scalability part, I believe that's based on all of the buzz which is happening within the market, that 2030 should be the threshold year where the markets, the technology, charging infrastructure will be ready for wider scale implementation based on all of those companies' plans. And I believe that the decade from 2030 to 2040 will be the full-scale implementation of alternative solutions within the transportation sector.
Sounds good. So we will see in 2030 if that's right. Thank you, Andrius, for joining us today on this episode. And I would like to also thank our listeners. Next time we will continue elaborating on the topics of sustainability, so I'll see you in the next episode.